He stood on the bridge of a star-killing dreadnought, watching Earth's blue curve with contempt. Primitive. Weak. Defenseless. The Galactic commander sneered. But 30 seconds later, his flagship was gone, erased not by Earth's military, but by something even older, colder, and far more terrifying than war. A single shot. No warning. No trace. And now the galaxy trembles, wondering, what else have the humans buried, that smiles when laughed at? They called him extinct. As the galaxy watched Earth bow and scrape before yet another armada, the diplomats begged, the satellites blinked out, and cities prepared their last prayers. Above the stratosphere, 100 Dominion warships blotted out the stars. The Varn had arrived not to invade, but to humiliate, again. It was sport now. Humanity's collapse had become so routine, the Galactic Council didn't even bother drafting the usual condemnations. On every world with a signal, over Marshal Trizeca's broadcast played on repeat. You kept your museums. We brought a matchstick. Let us show you how it ends. His command vessel, the Varn's Crown, hovered like a god's dagger over the Earth's crust, its hull shimmering with adaptive armor, 8 miles of living alloy humming with antimatter. He called it Mercy made metal. The galaxy called it invincible. Earth had no fleet. No shield grid. No orbital cannons. They had one thing left. And he was done waiting. Commander Rain Calder didn't get the call. He was the call. Buried deep beneath the Andes, under 7 layers of obsolete security, his cryopod hissed open like an old wound. He coughed once, sat up slowly, and said to no one in particular, "Well, that took longer than I expected." The room was empty save for dust, silence, and the pulse of an outdated terminal awaiting a voiceprint. He stood, scarred, silver-haired, and shirtless, and limped barefoot toward the interface. Calder. Authorization Echo 0. Open vault. The wall didn't respond with fanfare. It didn't need to. When metal ground back to reveal a single steel crate the size of a coffin, Calder didn't flinch. He reached in, brushing aside the seal, and lifted out a small black cube glowing faintly red at its seams. Project Whisper, he whispered. Still warm. That's either a good thing, or a funeral waiting to happen. From orbit, Trizek watched as Earth's governments scrambled on unsecured frequencies, deploying drones, grounding transports, activating defense archives that hadn't seen light in decades. He didn't care. Let them claw through their relics. It won't matter. One of his tacticians, a gangly Xenosavan named Karis, approached with a report. Surface activity has increased. There is movement in Sector 18, the Andes range. We intercepted a coded pulse, but it self-terminated. No origin traceable. Trizek barely glanced up. Send a cruiser to scorch it. Be artistic. Back on Earth, Calder stood in a rusted military transport, his hands wrapped in frayed combat gloves, eyes locked on the coordinates flashing across the display. You know what I hate? He muttered to the pilot, a young officer trembling beside him. Arrogant bastards who think peace is the same as weakness. We gave them silence. They took it for surrender. The officer nodded, throat dry. Sir, the weapon, are you sure it's still? Calder cut him off. It's not a weapon. It's a question. One the galaxy's forgotten how to answer. Above them, a Dominion cruiser approached, its underbelly glowing with fusion heat, priming a planetary lance. Calder didn't run. He activated the beacon. A half-mile away, buried inside a shell of volcanic stone, Whisper awoke. Not with light or flame, but with absence. The air around it bent. Sound faded. The cube rose from its cradle, humming in a frequency that didn't exist a second ago. The cruiser fired. The Andes didn't flinch. Instead, space cracked. The lance veered midair, then froze, pixelated, and vanished as if history itself forgot it ever launched. The cruiser shuddered. Then it began to decay. Not explode. Not burn. Just vanish. Slowly, quietly, like a story being edited out of reality. Inside the Dominion flagship, Alarm screamed. Trizek stood. What was that? Karras stammered. Sir, the scout ship, it's gone. Entirely. No comms, no debris, not even navigational logs. We only know it existed because our logs mention its fuel expenditure. Trizek turned slowly toward the stars, toward the blue planet below. Earth doesn't have that kind of technology. Karras nodded. That's what we thought. Calder stood in the canyon as ash settled around him like snow. One shot. That's the rule. He looked up, right at the camera drone circling above. He knew it would find him. He wanted it to. Trizek, he said, voice calm as stone. You're next. Not because you attacked us. Not because you wanted conquest. But because you laughed. You turned our silence into a stage. And now you get to be the punchline. In orbit, the Overmarshal's face twitched. Send everything. Level that region. No survivors. I want his DNA carbonized. Earth responded not with force but with truth. The truth that it only needed to fire once. Calder was already gone, vanishing into the shadow of a canyon that no longer existed on Dominion maps. Because the map had updated. Because Whisper had started erasing. Trizek gave orders, barked threats, demanded explanations. But something strange kept happening. Every time his officers tried to reference certain coordinates, certain paths, even Calder's own biometric profile, the system returned null. Does not exist. Data lost. Unknown designation. They were watching their own memory decay. And Calder? He smiled into the wind. Whisper hovered beside him, silent, red pulse fading in and out like a heartbeat, a countdown, or maybe, a promise. We don't need fleets, he said to no one. We just needed the galaxy to blink first. And now it had. The screams in the command bunker were muffled by steel and shame. Global comms had gone silent 10 minutes ago. Half of Earth's defense grid was offline, the other half was ceremonial. No one knew what to say to the crowds hiding in shelters. Politicians blinked at blinking screens. The council had voted not to interfere. Of course they had. This was no longer diplomacy, it was public execution. Rain Calder didn't sit. He never did when things were ending. He stood over the old world map, tracing the flight path of the Varn's second wave, eyes half-lidded but never still. We've confirmed orbital saturation, said the officer behind him, voice shaking. Trizek deployed thermal beacons over New Florence, Dakar, and Baja Arcology. They're prepping to collapse tectonic nodes. No demands, no comms, just prepping to bury us. Calder grunted. Because they think it's already over. It's not. The young tech stared at the small cube pulsing faintly red beside him. That thing, it did something. It made their cruiser vanish. Calder finally turned. It did more than that. It introduced fear. Real fear. Not battlefield panic. Existential dread. The kind that makes you question what's real. They don't understand it yet, but they will. A klaxon screamed across the chamber. Calder looked to the holofeed. 2 Dominion skirmishers had breached atmosphere, moving faster than any known thrust vectoring should allow. They weren't here to scout. They were hunting him. They're jamming the canyon uplinks, said the officer. If they cut Whisper's sink. They won't, Calder snapped. They think fast means smart. Let me show you what thinking really looks like. He walked to the far side of the chamber and punched a palm plate. A vault hissed open, revealing a skeletal mech frame, half armor, half muscle memory. He slid into it like a man putting on old bones. With a hydraulic groan, the exosuit sealed around him. You're going out there? The officer asked. I'm not hiding behind a console while tourists throw spears at my planet, Calder said. Besides, I wrote the terrain here. They're flying into a coffin, they just don't know it. He stepped into the external lift, the platform rising through layers of sand, scrap, and silence. Above him, sky cracked with the thunder of alien speed. He squinted as the light hit him. One of the Dominion skirmishers broke cloud cover, its chassis splitting into jagged wings bristling with heat lances. Calder didn't flinch. He extended his left arm, locking onto a buried uplink spike. A signal pinged. The ground under the Varn's ship erupted, mines that hadn't existed on any map. The skirmisher twisted, but too late. The blast clipped its rear thrusters. It spiraled, struck the cliffside, and howled in a synthetic scream as it burned. The second came in smarter, faster, lower. Calder waited. Whisper pulsed on his forearm. He tapped it once. A thin red beam flickered from the cube toward the enemy ship. At first, nothing happened. Then the ship wobbled. Suddenly its shadow vanished. Then its reflection. Then the sound. Then it simply wasn't. No wreckage. No data ping. The Dominion just lost a soldier it would never remember. Its records were rewriting mid-battle. That's what Whisper did. It didn't destroy things. It unwrote them. From orbit, Trizek saw the telemetry blank. Again. This time, his amusement cracked. This is not stealth. This is anomaly. Someone explain this now. His science officer approached carefully. We've rescanned the impact zone. There's a space-time irregularity, a kind of dampening signal, not energy-based, more like memory decay. Trizek snarled. That's not physics. That's superstition. Tell that to the missing half of your recon unit. Silence fell across the bridge. Then a technician gasped. Sir, their signal, it's broadcasting now. From Earth's crust. I've decrypted 3 words. Trizek stepped forward. The screen flickered once, then showed them. 1 shot left. For the first time, Trizek sat down. Back on Earth, Calder returned to the command room, exosuit steaming. The young officer looked at him like he was seeing a ghost. You erased them. No, Calder said, removing the suit piece by piece. I reminded them that this isn't their story. It's ours. He tapped the console. The satellite dish high on Mount Kibbo rotated, finding a frequency buried behind galactic broadcast layers. Whisper hummed. Calder leaned into the mic. To Over-Marshal Trizek. You're not negotiating. You're not threatening. You're being weighed. Right now, I'm considering if you're worth the last shot. And if I decide you are, your fleet, your name, your memory, all of it ends. Not with fire. With absence. There was no reply. Just static. Good. Whisper's pulse slowed. Calder sat for the first time in years, leaning back, staring at the ceiling. You see, he said softly to the officer, the thing about superweapons isn't just the power. It's the idea that someone built it. Someone thought this far ahead. And that someone is still alive. The officer swallowed hard. What if he calls your bluff? Calder didn't smile. He didn't need to. Then I erase his throne and the floor it stands on. Not for revenge. For precedent. Outside, the wind carried no sound, but something deeper than thunder whispered through the rock. Somewhere, a god was learning what it felt like to bleed, not from flesh, but from memory. The Dominion fleet descended like a closing fist, 100 ships in formation darkening the sky over the Pacific shelf. Their command lines were silent, locked in target confirmation loops. There were no more broadcasts, no declarations of superiority, just pure intent to erase. Trizek had stopped laughing. Now he hunted. Rain. Calder leaned over the table inside the buried command vault as Whisper floated inches above the steel surface, its red pulse now a slow, deliberate beat. Each glow a breath. Each flicker a heartbeat. The room was hot with tension, but Calder's voice stayed calm. They're coming with everything. They don't know what they're walking into. The officer standing beside him wasn't breathing right. They've mobilized 20 dreadnoughts into low orbit. They're coordinating impact vectors. Full extinction protocol. Calder adjusted his glove. And what did you expect? Mercy? No, this is exactly what I wanted. They're overcommit. Overconfident. That's when gods bleed. A tremor shook the vault. The outer doors hissed shut on lockdown. Calder turned, eyes locked on the hologram tracking each incoming cruiser. Target 6 is Trizeka's command barge. Still tucked behind his hammer line. Smart. He knows we're waiting. But not what we're waiting with. The officer finally asked. How does it work? Whisper. What is it? Calder's jaw tightened. It's not a bomb. It's not a bullet. It's a signal. A weaponized question. You mark something with meaning, something deeply human, and then you fire. The shot doesn't kill. It forgets. That target's history is subtracted from reality. No memory, no trace, no legacy. The officer stared. Then why not use it now? Calder's voice dropped. Because there's only one shot left. I want it to matter. Above them, Dominion strike pods tore through the atmosphere. Explosions painted the sky crimson as cities activated their last defenses, nothing more than antique pulse towers and civilian bunkers. But Earth wasn't trying to win. Earth was baiting the hook. In New Cairo, a Dominion battalion hit the ground hard, dozens of armored figures storming through the ruins, hunting for resistance. They didn't find soldiers. They found monuments. Memorial stones. Books. Carvings. And hidden in every artifact, Calder's signature. Embedded codes laced with Whisper's quantum fragments. Within 30 seconds, their data links began to desync. Maps flickered. Memories conflicted. The Dominion troops turned on each other, firing at ghosts. From the vault, Calder watched the chaos unfold in real time. That's what happens when you weaponize memory. They didn't study our wars. They didn't understand what trauma really does. Now they'll learn what a civilization built on grief can do with one finger on the trigger. The officer looked pale. If we fire and miss? We don't miss, Calder said. Then came the breach. A rumble overhead, then silence. Then the vault's upper chamber collapsed with a shriek of steel and fire as Dominion breach squads tunneled through with plasma rigs. The officer pulled his sidearm, shaking. Calder didn't flinch. Get to fallback point Echo 3. If I don't walk out, you finish the countdown. What about you? I built this place. They're coming to kill a man. I'm going to erase a myth. He walked out into the fire. The breach squad spotted him immediately. 6 armored Varn soldiers raised plasma rifles. Calder raised nothing. He walked forward, slow, hands empty. One of them hesitated. Then the first fired. Whisper intercepted the shot midair, its pulse flared. The plasma bolt froze. The firing soldier began to blink erratically. He looked confused. His squad looked confused. Then he wasn't there anymore. Not dead. Just not. The others screamed, but the sound distorted. Their comms failed. Calder walked past them as they opened fire, each blast erased from space before it landed. One by one, each soldier began to twitch, forget their orders, forget their purpose, forget even the weapons in their hands. He passed through them like fog. Back in orbit, Trizek watched his tactical grid bleed static. Who is this human? He growled. What is this abomination? His war priest Karis trembled beside him. Our memory logs, they're fragmenting. Each time he uses the weapon, it folds part of the battle out of time. If he targets you, he won't, Trizek snapped. He's bluffing. One man cannot unmake an empire. Calder stood now in the upper vault, above the obliterated breach team, Whisper humming louder beside him. He activated a direct link to Dominion Command. The comms lit green. He spoke with ice. You violated treaty. Bombed our cities. Erased our children. For the last century, we remained silent because we thought history mattered to you. It doesn't. So we'll take it from you. Trizek appeared on the link, massive and monstrous, voice thunderous. You are alone. A relic. Surrender that device or burn with your world. Calder smiled. You don't get it. I'm not threatening your ships. I'm targeting your story. He pressed his palm to Whisper. Target lock engaged. The room shook. On Trizek's bridge, systems screamed. Log feeds began to scramble. Crew members started forgetting why they were at war. The Overmarshal tried to speak, but the words failed. He turned, stared at his own banner, and didn't recognize it. Calder whispered one last line. You laughed. Now the joke's over. He fired. Silence. In one instant, the Varn's crown ceased to exist. Not destroyed, unmade. Every Dominion ship lost its leader, its orders, its cohesion. Fleets fractured. Armadas fled. Earth's skies cleared. No explosion. No victory music. Just absence. Calder stood alone, the hum fading. He didn't smile. He just walked back into the dark. The Dominion fell apart faster than expected. One moment, the Varn's crown had been the most feared vessel in known space. Now, it was a whisper in corrupted code. It left no crater. No smoke. It didn't fall, it vanished. Trizac didn't die. He was erased. The Dominion fleet hesitated. Not because of orders, they had none. Not because of fear, they didn't remember what they were supposed to fear. Their command hierarchy was gone. Names missing. Battle plans corrupted. They stood in orbit, armed and confused. Rain Calder sat in the vault alone, eyes closed, whisper dim beside him. His breathing was steady, but his mind was sharp and slicing. He had seconds, maybe minutes, before the rest of the Dominion realized what had happened. That there would be no reinforcements. No retaliation. No revenge. Only questions. And silence. A voice crackled on the bunker channel. The young officer from before, breathless, rushed his words. Sir, it's chaos up there. Their ships are drifting. Scans show they're scanning their own archives, trying to piece together why they're even here. Calder didn't answer immediately. He leaned forward, opened a private channel, and sent a short encrypted burst across every galactic relay Earth still had access to. A message. Not to the Dominion. To everyone else. Dominion Overmarshal Trizac has been removed. Not killed. Removed. His memory, his legacy, his leadership, gone. This was not an accident. This was not war. This was a message. From Earth. We do not require weapons to be feared. We only need truth. And memory. You used to laugh at us. Now ask yourselves, who's next? He ended the transmission and stared at the screen. The silence that followed was thicker than any explosion. A different voice chimed in. One Calder recognized. A woman's voice. Sharp. Measured. Councilwoman Liara Tell, member of the Galactic Concord and one of the few who had voted against Earth's treaty neutering decades ago. Rain, she said coldly. What have you done? He tilted his head toward the speaker. What you all were too scared to do. I reminded them we're not prey. I showed them that peace enforced through humiliation isn't peace, it's occupation. Her voice hardened. You've just destabilized galactic equilibrium. Entire empires are going to panic. They'll see you as a terrorist with reality-warping tech. Calder chuckled. Good. Let them. Fear is honest. And honesty's been extinct in this galaxy longer than I have. She sighed. They'll come. Not just the Dominion remnants. Others. Syndicates. Independent warlords. Those who want to control what you used. I hope they do, he said. Because next time, I won't aim for their leaders. I'll aim for their planets. She went quiet. Another message buzzed in, an open channel. Not from Earth. Not from the Council. From one of the Dominion's own fleet commanders. Garival, according to the ID string. Voice trembling, hesitant. We don't know what's happened. Our memory logs are failing. We've lost contact with High Command. Who are you? What have you done to us? Calder answered simply. I've shown you the truth. That your strength was never yours. It was borrowed. Given. Allowed. And we just revoked the permission slip. Garev's voice cracked. Are we at war now? Calder didn't blink. You were. Then you lost. The moment you mocked a world you didn't understand. Now? You're free to go. But take one word with you. A pause. Whisper. The channel went dead. Earth's skies were quiet now. No more dropships. No more orbital charges. Just the faint glow of retreating fleets trying to rebuild a history that had been surgically removed. Calder stood from the console. His knees ached. His bones screamed. Whisper pulsed once more, weaker now. That one shot, it had cost something. Not energy. Not ammo. Purpose. Whisper had been designed as a deterrent. A legend. Calder had just used it for the first time in real war. And last. Because if you erase one leader from memory, they'll fear you. If you erase a second, they'll kill everything to make sure you never get a third. The young officer returned to the chamber, stunned. Sir, the Council's in emergency session. The Concord's fragmented. Some member species are threatening to leave. Others are asking us to protect them. You've started something bigger than retaliation. Calder looked him over. Good. It's time the galaxy learned what fear really looks like. Not fear of invasion, but fear of consequence. Of being remembered wrongly. Or not at all. The officer swallowed. What do we do now? Calder walked over to Whisper. Tapped the surface gently. We put this back to sleep. We seal this place again. If anyone asks, it never existed. But what about the next time? There won't be a next time, Calder said. They'll never be sure what really happened. Half of them don't even remember Trizek anymore. They'll argue about it for centuries. Was it Earth? Was it a myth? That's more powerful than any army. He turned to walk out. The officer followed. Behind them, Whisper sank into its cradle. Its pulse slowed again. Then stopped. On Earth, cities lit up in cautious celebration. Not because they understood what had happened, but because for once, no foreign boots marched on their soil. There were no orbital shadows, no forced treaties, no demands. Just silence. And whispers. The council chamber was in chaos, though no one dared to shout. Delegates spoke in tight whispers, glancing over their shoulders as if Calder's voice might still echo from the walls. Holograms flickered erratically. Historical databases failed to retrieve anything on Trizek or the Varn's crown. The Dominion ambassador stood paralyzed at his station, mouth half open, unable to explain who he represented anymore. No war declaration. No surrender. Just absence. Rain Calder was not in the chamber. He never left Earth. But his name did. In orbit, the remnants of the Dominion fleet drifted with purpose lost, memory fractured. Some initiated emergency returns. Others simply powered down, unsure why they were even deployed. A few opened diplomatic channels, but had no proper authority to speak. The empire they served had no name left to invoke. Calder stood beneath a starless sky, mountains behind him, wind sharp. Whisper rested sealed within a titanium vault. It no longer pulsed. Its single shot was spent, and with it, Earth had purchased not peace, but myth. The young officer approached from behind, a data slate in hand. Sir? Multiple fringe systems are contacting us. Some are requesting alliance. Others are begging for tech transfers. A few want to defect outright. They say the Dominion collapse has thrown their regions into civil panic. Calder took the slate, scanned it. They're afraid of ghosts now. The officer didn't smile. And they think we control the ghosts. Calder nodded. Let them. The officer hesitated, then asked, Are we becoming the new empire? No, Calder said. Empires demand worship. We're offering a warning. He tapped the slate and opened a live feed to every known galactic channel still intact. No flourish. No anthem. Just his face, weathered and steady. This is Earth, he began. You saw what happened. You felt it. You lost more than a leader. You lost certainty. I want you to sit with that. He waited a beat. Across the stars, on stations and starships, in embassies and bunkers, people leaned in. You believed our silence meant surrender. You believed treaties made us weak. But the truth is simple. Humanity does not announce its vengeance. We survive. We outlast. And when we strike, it's not to kill. It's to end your legacy. He leaned closer to the feed, eyes hard. There is no weapon left. There is no second shot. Whisper has fired. That was the only promise we made to ourselves, just one. One moment to remind the galaxy who we are. Another pause. He wanted the silence to burn. We're not here to rule you. We're not here to lead you. But if you ever again think to shame this world, to humiliate its people, to erase our name from your skies, then you better pray we never build a second Whisper. Because next time, it won't be your empire we erase. He ended the transmission. The officer exhaled. They're going to be watching us forever now. Calder shook his head. No. They'll be watching each other. A councilwoman from the Concord sent a personal message a moment later. Calder accepted it. You've set off 1,000 different wars with that stunt, she snapped. Do you understand what you've done? I reminded them that we're not prey, he replied calmly. They made us small for comfort. That comfort is gone. She tried again. There are systems collapsing in on themselves. Power vacuums, riots, black market empires forming out of the Dominion's husk. You're being hailed as a liberator on some worlds, and a god on others. I'm neither, Calder said. And if I were, I'd say your galaxy deserves neither. She narrowed her eyes. So what now? Calder looked to the horizon. We disappear. Disappear? She repeated. We vanish like they thought we had. We go quiet again. Let the galaxy fill in the blanks. Make them wonder if we still have more. Whisper is dead. But rumor? Rumor is immortal. He cut the call. The officer stood beside him, hesitant. We could rally the others. Form a coalition. We have leverage now. Calder turned to him. And do what? Start policing the stars? That's how it begins. First a coalition, then a protectorate, then a senate, and before you know it, someone else is building whispers and deciding who deserves erasure. But someone has to keep order, the officer said. Let chaos teach them, Calder replied. We gave them peace. They broke it. Now we've given them silence. Let's see how long that holds. The officer took a moment, then gave a stiff nod. Understood. Back underground, the vault closed. Whisper was sealed in lead and myth. The data was purged. No blueprints. No backups. No resurrection. There would never be another. Earth resumed, not as a superpower, but as a cautionary tale. Children in distant systems whispered bedtime stories about a planet that fired once and deleted a god. Criminals claimed to have seen the erased ship flicker in deep space, a phantom in the void. Mercenaries refused Earth-side contracts. Trade companies demanded hazard premiums for any orbit near Sol. Entire academies debated whether the event was real or manufactured. But the lesson remained. Humanity had not begged for survival. It had made history vanish. Rain Calder retired again, this time not in exile, but by choice. He left no forwarding address, no monument, no final word. He didn't need to. The galaxy remembered the silence. And it remembered what came after the laughter.